All right, we're in the hospital room with Rodney Bennett, and before we go any further, I just want to say I actually know you from before, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, I did, because some people on Facebook that see the Facebook page we set up for you kind of figured like, okay, well, how do you know? And I wanted to make sure that people understood. I actually met you and got to know you before you were diagnosed with the cancer. Because I got to know you before, I'm used to seeing you out on the water. Okay?
All the time.
Yeah, it's like, I guess my biggest question is, how does it make you feel that you, on a daily basis, you were used to going out and being on the water every day? Whether it was taking someone on a banana boat ride or a fishing trip, and be hit with something that now makes it difficult for you to even go out on the water.
It feels like somebody just pulled the rug out from underneath you. You just go from very active to can't do nothing, can't go fishing, can't go to the grocery store, can't go to Walmart. Literally just can't do nothing but go to the doctor and go home. Fatigue level's so low that you can't. Doing a load of laundry is a chore. It's just not something that you just do anymore. Doing dishes is, you do 2 or 3 plates, you gotta sit down for 30 minutes to catch your breath in order to do 2 forks and a spoon.
How do you deal with maybe I'm assuming, but I would think that you would have to be overwhelmed with boredom from going.
Oh, it's an emotional ride. It's you go from being very active, especially talking to people all day long, communicating with people. You get used to that, and all of a sudden you're slammed with talking to a wall, and you're not associating with people. It's a real. Put it this way, it's an emotional ride, it's a physical ride, and it's a mental ride, all at one time.
There's an old saying that you know who your friends are when you're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious, I think that not only is it when you get in trouble do you really find out who your real friends are, but I think from a physical standpoint, when someone becomes ill and goes through something that most definitely could be the fight of their life,
mm-hmm.
do you sometimes think back and wonder if your friends are there? Or...
Well, sometimes, I do question because before I would see my friends all the time. Now I don't see anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And, so it does raise the questions to where, well, were they my friends or weren't they my friends?
Mm-hmm.
Were they just associates or are they real friends?
Right.
I
asked the question because I saw something you had posted on Facebook, on your Facebook page. And it was basically a comment that, sometimes going through things that you really do stop and wonder, who your friends are or where your friends are. And I noticed that you had actually included in that comment that, you understand that people have their lives to live and they have their jobs. So I was just curious if you feel like sometimes you wonder if your real friends are still there or if they were real friends or... Well,
it's like this. I understand life goes on. Everybody's got their own life. Ain't nobody going to stop what they're doing. But, right where I live at, everybody passes me 3 or 4 times a day. They really wouldn't stop and say hello.
That's true.
If I lived clear out in the middle of the woods or something, I can understand that. But on the same hand, too, like I said, people got their own lives to live.
Mm-hmm.
They got their own families to feed, their own selves to take care of. Which I get phone calls and stuff, which is, to me sometimes is better than somebody stopping by.
Right.
And
I was going to say, I was wondering if sometimes maybe the phone call might not be better, because I've actually stopped by a couple of times, and the fact is sometimes when I stop by physically, you're just not in the mode to see anyone. You're not in the shape.
Not only that, but, like we discussed before, a lot of people don't like to go and see their friend or somebody like that. They're in the hospital with tubes hanging out of them, and it kind of brings them down. But on the same hand too, they also got to figure that what brings them down also sometimes brings other people up.
Right. Well, yesterday I posted on we started another Facebook page that's more a group, because the original Facebook page we started for Friends of Rodney Bennett is restricted basically to they have to actually be friends of someone that's a member on the page. So I started another one that's actually a group page that's open. And yesterday I told people, anyone who had pictures of you from knowing you or from going out on fishing trips, and it kind of brought back memories for me, because Kelly and Tyler started putting up pictures of you that they had. And there's this one picture of you holding up this gigantic fish with this little blonde kid standing next to you with a grin on his face from ear to ear. And I'm going, that's the Rodney I know. That's the Rodney that everybody remembers seeing on a daily. Yeah, and trust me, it was big. So I got to thinking, I'm like, will you, even after going through all this chemo, even after they get you to the point of doing a bone marrow transplant, do you believe that you'll be able to go back out there and do that?
Oh yeah. That's my whole goal.
That's what I wanted to hear.
That's my goal. I got 2 goals. One's to get married, and one's to be fishing again. That's my goal.
Okay. One more, I guess I want to go back into the actual disease itself. Because this thing wasn't something that came on that you were... I mean, this is something that pretty much just hit you like somebody cold-cocked you with a left hook.
It was like a drive-by shooting. That's exactly what it was. Just within about 3 weeks' time is when it hit me. And that's why Mantell lymphoma is the most aggressive far as multiplying growth. It's not an organ cancer, it's a growth cancer. And I would assume that it's actually within the bloodstream, because you all
were saying... All
cancers are in the bloodstream.
Because you're saying that the tumors have to be shrunk.
Yep.
And this is what I want people to understand. A lot of people who actually go through chemo do so on an outpatient basis, to where they go in and they go home, Yeah,
well, with mine, it is not... It started out as an outpatient, but mine, anybody with mantle cell lymphoma, it's such an aggressive... cancer that they have to be very aggressive with the chemo.
Right.
That's why every time now that I have chemo, I have to be hospitalized for 3, 4, sometimes 7, 8 days at a time, because they can't do it on an outpatient program because there's too many ifs involved with it. If I get a fever, or if I get an allergic reaction, or if something happens, I have to be here in order for them to be able to take care of whatever comes up immediately.
In between the chemo treatments, it's my understanding that you actually have to make trips daily back to either the doctor or the hospital.
7 days a week.
Okay. What's that about? I mean, what do you...
It's what it is when you come in here and you get the chemo, they wear down your blood cells so bad that the shots that I'm actually taking every single day is the blood booster shots.
Okay.
Which boosts up your red cells, your white cells. It also helps your bone marrow get built back up. And it's 7 days a week. I haven't missed since September 14th. I have not been to... I've been to the doctor every single time from September 14th until... What's the date today? The 13th?
Today's the 13th of December.
12th, 11th, 10th. So it's the 10th this month. So 10th of this month, 10th, 11th, and 12th this month is the only 3 days since September 13th that I haven't seen the doctor on a day-to-day basis. Okay.
And I know yesterday you had to go through some fluids or something, some process to prepare you for coming in today.
Every time I go into here, Rituxan is what I have to go through. I have to go and sit and get a 4-hour Rituxan. And that's just it's a beginner in order for them to give you the chemo the next day. If you don't get it then they can't give you the chemo because the chemo is so strong. It's the Rituxan is actually a mild type of chemo that actually gets your body adjusted to the real strong chemo when they come and give you the real strong chemo.
Okay.
So the chemo they give me is 2 to 3 times the amount that they give a normal chemo patient.
Everyday life. Now, I know you own your home, but I also know that you own a mobile home that sits on a part of land that you end up paying lot rent on a monthly basis, which a lot of people in this area do. On top of your lot rent, I know that you have phone bills, electric, gas, water, sewer, trash, food, and contrary to what people think, even those with cancer still have to eat. You know, your appetite may be screwy at times, but
well, see, and that's another thing too with the food stamps. The food stamps don't give you enough to even survive on. They barely give you enough for a week's worth of food.
Okay. With gas prices the way they are, I mean, I'm not saying this to slam what you drive, but I know you're not exactly in possession of an economical vehicle as far as, you know, gas mileage, but gas has to be a big thing for you.
I'm actually in a pretty economical vehicle for a truck.
Okay.
Because it's a V6. It's not a V8.
Okay.
So it is, but even still with the gas prices fluctuating so much, there's no way that you can actually say, okay, well, I can take X amount of dollars and set it to the side and make it to my doctor's appointment every week, because one day gas might be $3.40 a gallon, next day it might be $3.50 a gallon.
Exactly. You are still looking to actually have to do some treatments at Gainesville, University of Florida. Is that correct?
That is up in the air right now. This is going... After this here, I go for a PET scan, and the PET scan's really going to depend on if I'm going to Gainesville to get a bone marrow transplant, or if they're even going to think about it, or what have you. So this is pretty much my... I ain't going to say the last time I have to go through chemo in the hospital until we do the PET scan. The PET scan is what's really, really going to tell us what we need to know, because the PET scan actually takes pictures of your whole body.
Right.
I was covered 85% of my body with cancer.
Okay.
And right now, for what the doctor is seeing, about 75, maybe 80% of that's gone down now.
Okay.
So that's why we got to get the PET scan and find out exactly what it is.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Mantell lymphoma is actually one of the cancers that has a higher rate of return.
Yes, it has a 65% return rate within the first 5 years.
So it's definitely not something that you're going to shrink the tumors down, and 6 months from now you're going to be walking around going, I'm free and clear.
No, and there again, yes. It's one of those. Mantell lymphoma is a crapshoot. That's exactly what it is. There's been people that's gotten rid of it, never had it again. There's been people that's come back in 6 months, 6 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 months. So you don't really never ever know. It's a crapshoot. Okay,
but your attitude, I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. As far as you're concerned, is it going to beat you, or are you going to beat it?
I'll whoop its ass.
That's what I knew you were going to say.
It's in 4 or 5 of its life. They picked the wrong person to pick on. I am picking back.
Well, if you fight this with just half the force and the determination that you put into taking people out and making sure that they catch a fish, and believe me, you're one of the few captains I've ever met that'll take someone out on the Atlantic Ocean and make it your determination to make sure they at least hook something. Although I must admit I'm the exception to that rule. The closest we could hook that day were a bunch of jellyfishes. But look, we're going to be here with you through it all. And I think that a lot of your friends are going to come out on Sunday. as far as the raffle is concerned. I know that a lot of them have put forth a lot of things to help us raise some money to help you make your bills, to make that part of it a little bit easier for you.
That's, right now, that's the biggest thing that's killing me right now. Is just, I'm in here. It's hard to go from being a provider for your family to not be able to provide for your family. It's one of the hardest things that you can do, knowing in your mind that you can't do it.
Right.
But your body's telling you no. That's one of the hardest things for me that I'm having to face is I've always been the breadwinner. And now all of a sudden I can't even go out and get a piece of bread, let alone the loaf of bread.
And I think that's one of the reasons why when I found out after I got back down here, that was one of the first things that me and Kelly both said. And I guess I do want to give credit to Kelly. Kelly was the one that actually brought it to my attention that even though you had not said anything to her, she was, pretty much of the opinion that you were struggling. And we were both talking, and you are the type of person that would give the shirt off of your back to someone else.
Oh, yeah.
And at the same time, you're not the type of person that would ask anyone for help. And that's, I guess that's the reason when I came up to see you the first time, I pretty much told you it's not what you want, it's what we're going to do. And you just have to sit back and either, cooperate with us or go out kicking and screaming. Rodney, with your permission, I'd like to put this video up on the Friends of Rodney Bennett Facebook page, because I think it would give people who are looking at the page who don't know you the opportunity to understand just what type of person you are.
Yeah, well, no doubt, but hopefully it'll help them understand what not only me as a cancer patient, but what most cancer patients go through. Especially at a younger age.
Yeah, and you're not exactly really, an old geezer.
Yeah, I'm 43 years old. I'm not over the hill, and I'm not under the hill. But you've gone from being a very active person to being pretty much a couch potato. Is hard.
I understand that.
It's hard. It really plays more mental games with you than it does anything. So. Well, that's where we're at.
What I'm going to do now is say thank you and stop the tape, and then I'm going to let you know I'm going to get this put up and then come back and drop off something. Hopefully you'll be able to hold down, because I don't necessarily like that menu over there on the nightstand. Thanks, Rodney.
No problem. Thank you.